Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
It's March Madness at Sports Interaction. NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, and so much more. It's bananas. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Toronto using the QR code you see at the bottom of the screen, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 and older, please play responsibly. Whoo-wee. Armaan, we are live here on Game Over Toronto. Welcome everyone for joining, and thank you for joining us. My name is Harnish, and I'm joined alongside my constant co-host Armaan, and we're here live after the Leafs took on the Carolina Hurricanes at home on St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's.
Yes. The Leafs, or should I say the St. Pats, got to don the green and white, and
Do you like those jerseys?
I love them. I'm so jersey.
I
I'm
love
so
them
jealous
too.
I don't have the jersey.
I know. I've seen people say they don't like them, and I don't get it. I love them.
It's fantastic,
the green,
but
it just pops.
I don't know if I can justify buying that jersey for one day out of the year. That's my.
I mean, I've got that jersey.
Which
I
one?
don't know if you can see it on the stream. The reversible.
Oh, okay. You wear that more than once a year.
I know.
Don't even give me
nice.
that.
I would wear the St. Pats more than once a year. Too.
All right, well, we'll see. Well, let me finish my intro, man.
Yeah, sorry.
And hey, the green may have luck. The luck may have rubbed off on the Leafs. The Leafs beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-2. Insane. And they opened up the scoring with none other than Zach Aston-Reese. Armaan, we have a ton of players that contributed to the offense. Matthews, Marner, they netted one. Riley continued his form. He got another, but Czar got two tonight, and I think we have to start off with him because he opened up the scoring tonight with a tip in by a Gustafsson shot, and later in the second he put us up 4-2, getting a great saucer pass by Lafferty. But what were your thoughts on Czar tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get secondary scoring. I mean, you don't really expect that out of Zach Aston-Reese. I think it was his fourth multi-goal game in his career and his first since October 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So not exactly common for us to be on Zach Aston-Reese Hattie watch. But yeah, I thought the bottom six really stepped up today. You know, even Lafferty's been like struggling as of late, at least the last two games. But that saucer pass to Zach Aston-Reese on the fourth goal was pretty damn nice. It's nice to see Gustafsson also get a point on the first Zach Aston-Reese goal.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, our depth's going to be tested, especially with the Achari potential injury.
We'll talk about that later.
It was just precautionary, yeah. But, yeah, just great to see some depth scoring. And Zach Aston-Reese had a great game.
Yeah, I think that's you hit the money on that. Seeing the depth get involved in the play and contributing offensively was great. Gustafsson, you mentioned, he had that point there, but he also had a great chance a couple minutes later on that in that first as well. He could have netted himself a goal himself. But I do want to point out, like, Czar on that first goal, he did contribute quite a bit to that. I mean, he used his frame to box out a Carolina defender, and that got him into position to get that tip on, right? And you mentioned Lafferty. I mean, he had a fantastic play. I think it was I think he caught them on a line change, and that's what allowed him to get that.
Yeah, it was
to get that going.
Nakash overskated the puck, and
Yeah,
Lafferty picked it up, and it was a 2-on-1. And yeah, just a great feed, perfect timing, right on the stick. It was. I think both goals that Zach Aston-Reese got were pretty like high danger chance. Like, it would be hard to mess those up. Obviously, the tip is pretty skillful. I don't know if it was entirely intentional, but yeah, like they're high danger chances. So glad to see he finally, you know, capitalized.
Yeah, definitely. But another player, let's talk about Matthews before we get to Riley, because Matthews got a goal tonight. And it was funny because it was off of his knee, right? It was a Tavares, Tavares shot that got deflected off of Pesci and then off of Matthews' knee as well, right? But despite that, he was looking smooth and fluid tonight. I think that's kind of the word for tonight for him, was just fluidity.
Yeah.
The way he's been skating and the way he's moving the puck, making plays, it really seems like he's feeling himself and feeling like himself again, right? It looks like probably the first time this entire season, right? So it's good to see him back on a roll, and hopefully the injury troubles are behind him. But what were your thoughts on seeing Matthews getting going again tonight?
Yeah, he's been fantastic recently. He's got four goals in his last 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Or four, in 4 of the last 5, he's scored at least one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's putting up a ton of shots recently. And there was the piece that the Athletic wrote about his injury early on in the season, and it seems like that's past this point, and it's just good to see him ramping up now, heading into the playoffs. There's only like 15 games left, so I'd rather he slump early, and so it's just yeah, he looked excellent. I have no worries about him.
Yeah.
It's Austin Matthews.
Exactly. But seeing him getting going is nice too, right? Because like we mentioned, he has been pretty snake bitten in terms of injuries, right? So finally seeing him out there and playing to his potential is fantastic. See another player who also seems to have been hitting his groove. And I've seen chat, a lot of people are telling us to talk about the ref, and trust me, we will be getting to that very shortly. But let's talk about the positives on a win, right? Riley got his second goal in 2 games, so back-to-back games with a goal, and it was a fantastic shot. I mean, you tweeted about it saying that with a shot like that, you're surprised that he hasn't hit the back of the net more often, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that it took until January to get his first goal. I mean, like, he slumped early, but like, holy, that was a snipe.
And he had
got
that
a
Matthews. He had
crazy
Matthews
good
right
shot.
beside him too. He could have easily, or it was a contested like pass, but he could have tried to get that pass off to Matthews, right? But instead, seeing him confident in his own shot was fantastic, right? You want to
Yeah.
see a guy that's gone like 20 goals in previous season, right?
Yeah.
Be confident heading into the playoffs, and we've been chirping about our defense getting some offense going, and Riley has been hitting that mark recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's nice to see 2 goals very heavily contributed by defensemen with is Gustafsson's first goal. I mean, the assist on the first goal as well. So yeah,
All right.
definitely need to generate from defense.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the topic that everyone's here to see. Everyone in chat, there's a Noodle75, Paul Stripe, a ton of people talking about the reffing situation in this game. Let's break it down a little bit. So, late in the first
awful.
period, yeah, Noel Achari and Puljujärvi collide, right? Achari's reeling on the ground for a bit, and the play had to get or the whistle had to be called, and the play had to end, right? And Puljujärvi, to his credit, he was quick to go over and make sure that Achari was okay. Now
it was clearly unintentional.
Yeah, in the replay,
it doesn't matter.
Exactly. But in the replay, we see that Puljujärvi, he clearly sees Achari coming, right? And he raises his stick to try to get out of the way. And lo and behold, the stick raised, and the fist is what clips Achari in the face, and that's what caused it, right? Unintentional, right? Obviously, clearly, but I think should have been a penalty, right?
And the ref was looking right at it. Like, that is a decision to not call that, and I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. And then the fact that Keefe reamed him out, like reamed the refs out, and then like seconds later, the next ref debacle happened.
We'll talk about that Järnkrok then, because
that's some bullshit.
It was horrendous, right? Because they clearly had an eye on it. And the second part that you were mentioning as well, that was Järnkrok getting a goalie interference call, right? Järnkrok got tangled up with Brady Shea. Järnkrok tries to drive the nets. Once he realizes there's no play to be made, he pulls off and starts to slow down, and he gets to a stop, right? But Brady Shea, a Carolina player, pushes and shoves him into their own goaltender, right? And the refs had the best seats in the house on this, right? They were right there watching this go down. They were right beside the goaltender to see this happen, and they thought, hey, that's still goaltender interference. I mean, Järnkrok had his skates completely sideways.
Yeah,
I don't know what
it's
else you can
without
do in that
question.
situation.
It's without question he tried to stop
Yeah.
and was pushed in. Like it, I don't know what they were looking at, and that's what pisses me off. Because it's a 3-1 game at that point. The Carolina Hurricanes have not got a power play yet. We've had one, and Keefe just yelled at the refs. Like, it's hard to look at that sequence and not be like, this is either game management or it's them trying to teach Keefe a lesson, or like otherwise you're just incompetent and you shouldn't be reffing in the NHL. Like, they were looking at it. We saw in the replays both times a ref was staring at it. So like I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like it makes me speechless. It's a joke. Like this league is so stupid, and the refs rightfully got booed after that whole bullshit sequence.
And I love the narrative around the rest of the league where it seems like the Leafs have the refs on payroll and the calls are always going the Leafs way.
Fucking
It's
Sutter's
ridiculous.
comments. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah, it's ridiculous. Come on, just look
It's-
at this game. And it's not just this one game in general. There's been multiple games. We've chirped about this a lot throughout the season and past seasons as well. This has been a concern for a long time. I mean, Game Over fans, you guys know, you guys can see it firsthand how frustrated we get because it's infuriating. Like
Yeah.
there's no symbolism of sense. Like it just doesn't make sense in that situation. Like what, as the ref, what are you looking for to see Czar do differently to not get that called? Like seriously, what do you do? He's completely sideways. He's trying to put his weight forward, and a Carolina defender shoves him into the goaltender.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do, and it's like I don't know. It sucks because you can't even say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like like on the ice, they can't say anything because then the refs are just gonna spite them.
Well, I mean, Keith had a couple jabs over there. He was like, "There's like, 4 of you on the ice, and none of you saw." I mean,
before
ridiculous,
the second
right?
period started, Keefe was talking to the refs, and then look at the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get a single call after that, and Carolina got 2 more power plays, and I don't know. It's fucking bullshit. It's ridiculous. Like I don't know, man. I hate talking about it because it's so like over talked about, but it's getting to a point. It's like especially this game, it was horribly officiated. And what infuriates me more is like when we talked about like how there's some sort of narrative that the Leafs have the refs in their pocket, like when Sutter talked about it, and several NHL coaches or players have talked about it before, and you see other fans talk about it, and it's like, what are you watching? Like, what are you watching? There's not even a stat that you can point to. Like, every stat points to the opposite. The Leafs have been consistently lower on the power play opportunities. We're the only team to not have a 5-on-3 opportunity this season at all. And this is courtesy from Willie Goat Gruff on Twitter. No other team has gone 67 games without a 5-on-3 power play since the stat has been publicly available in 2009. The only other team that has gone 0 was the New York Islanders in the 2020 shortened season, which was 56 games.
Mm-hmm.
So we're setting new ground. And I'm not saying that, that's anti-Leafs bias. That could purely be coincidence. But it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to be like, yeah, the refs are biased for the Leafs. Like, it absolutely infuriates me every time I see that. It's ridiculous. I can't stand it. Ah, God.
Yeah, well,
even the bunting hold at the end in the third period.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's soft
tiki-taki.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see, I mean, the Hurricanes were really frustrated towards the end of towards the end over there. They had Aho had a little bit of shenanigans going on, getting a shot off late and whatnot. Yeah. So tempers are flaring. Caleb Bird in chat said that Czar got the belt. Just want to quickly say that fantastic, deserved it.
Deserved it, yeah.
Yeah. And
also the penalty kill today, like, speaking on the 3 power plays, the penalty kill was insane. Like, even Lafferty got a really solid short-handed chance. I thought the penalty kill was absolutely excellent. They stepped up today. And, Carolina's not a easy team to play against.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're one of the few teams that are ahead of us in the standings, actually. So,
Hmm.
like, yeah, just a really hard fought win. I really liked the Leafs game tonight.
Yeah, Carolina is second in the league right now, and 5 points ahead of the Leafs. Yeah, it's a fantastic game, and the Leafs, they were coming off of a rough, or they're coming into this game with a rough
2 games
March.
good. Yeah.
Exactly. They haven't had the best March, I guess, in general, or the best month. But after this game, they're going to be on a 5-game road trip. So what better way than to get a decisive win here at home for the Leafs in their St. Pat's jerseys, right? Um, it's all great to see. And what'd you think about Samsonov? Because he's back there and he lets that shaky goal up first. That was to put the Carolina Hurricanes, their first goal. I believe the Leafs were ahead 2-1 at that
Yeah,
point,
the
right?
first goal was definitely weak.
Yeah,
But
that Brady Shea again. Brady Shea. We keep mentioning his name, but it just like slips past him. Other than that, though, I
he
mean,
was excellent.
he made a couple fantastic saves. One of them was a great stretch and save in that second
Yeah,
period.
against Aho on the partial break, he gets the right pad out
Mhm.
very quickly. Yeah, I thought Samsonov was excellent, and he is now 18-2-2 at home. Not only should he be the starter in the playoffs, but I think it's time we re-sign him before
Ooh.
that number goes up too high. He's an RFA, so obviously we have time. But
Mhm.
you know, if we have playoff success with him in net, I'm afraid of that cap hit. So yeah, he's excellent. He's been excellent this season, and it's insane that Washington just let him go for free. You know, they had his rights, and you know, but what are you gonna do? I love it. You know, 1.8 million. That's amazing
Pennies
value.
on the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic, his contract. But before you jump to sign him quickly, I mean, remember last year we were talking about this with Campbell, right? He was looking like he was getting up
But
there in the
Campbell had
Vezina race,
one
and
good
then,
month,
huh?
and then he had one
Oh, we
insane
were,
month,
but
and
during
then
that
like,
month, I remember we had our own podcast at that point, and we were
oh yeah,
talking
I
about
know. We were talking
calling
about
for the
re-signing.
Vezina. Vesna sign him before he gets too much and before he gets the Vesna.
You know,
And you saw what happened this year. I mean, they're struggling big time.
I mean, we're Leaf fans. Of course, we're reactionary. What can I say?
Hey,
I will say one thing though.
yeah.
I want to speak to you. Like, you know, the Leafs have gone on a bit of a skid since the trade deadline,
Yeah.
and 2 losses in a row,
Mhm.
and this could have been our third. But I've been very impressed
I
this
love that you
year
say this could have been a
specifically.
third when we won the game 5-2
No,
as
but that's what I mean.
well.
I'm leading into something. I've
Okay.
been very impressed with this team's ability to not go on any sort of losing streak. You know, since November 1st,
Uh-huh.
we are the only team
I
to
love how
not
you
go
you
on a
casually
3-game.
like discredit the beginning of the season where we were on a
Yeah, because they
disgusting
were shit in the
losing
beginning.
streak.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
since like the first 12 games or whatever, since
Uh-huh.
we went on that horrible 5-game losing streak,
Mhm.
we are the only team to not go 3 games in a row with losing.
Okay.
And I've been just even Boston has done that, and obviously Boston's insane. I'm not going to even imply that the Leafs are better right now. Like Boston went on 1 3-game losing streak one time in the season, and that was like the only time they've lost back to back in general.
Mhm.
But I've been very impressed with this team's ability to kind of bounce back after, you know, games where, you know, things don't go your way, whatever it may be. It might be a blowout, but they bounce back pretty well. So it's it's scary because it's giving me confidence heading into the playoffs, which I don't like. I don't like expectation. And also the Leafs haven't been shut out this year. And they haven't been shut out in 131 games, which is also insane.
Mhm. You know what I got to say to that? All the most of the games that we're losing are against bottom tier teams. How many games in a row are
Haven't
we
had
going
any.
against teams that are in the Bedard sweepstakes? Okay, that's really the case. I mean, most of the losses that we see this season are against like Bedard sweepstakes teams, right?
Yeah.
So I think like it's fantastic seeing them bounce back. There's the games that they lose. It's like, yeah, that sucks. It sucks in the moment, but you know the team's better than what they played. I think that's like the sentiment that I usually get around their losses. It's not
Yeah.
really that, oh, they played a good game, but they just got they just got beat by a better team. It's more so they lost to themselves. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
they get
kind
in
of
their
thinking.
way quite a bit.
Exactly.
And that does worry me, but it's the ability to come back out the next game and forget about the previous one that I don't think this team had in previous years.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's a new thing. Like
I,
and this is just based on feeling. I don't have any stats in front of me to like prove this, but just based on feeling on previous seasons, I remember going through these like skids of just horrible play where
Mhm.
it's like 3-4 games in a row where the Leafs look awful. And
Mhm.
now it's like, okay, they look awful and they're inconsistent game to game, but it's not this like 3-game stretch where it's just complete shit. At
Yeah.
least since November.
I think a large portion of that is you also have to give credit to Dubas and company, right? They've done a pretty good job of fielding a very all-rounded good team, right? We're not really dependent on our top four to just win us games at this point, right? We've seen Matthews, he has stepped back from last year's atrocious like goal scoring pace that he was on, just getting everything was going to the back of the net. And even with Marner having a ton of points. But I think we have a lot more depth. I mean, look at our bottom six. Our bottom six, I think we
Our bottom six
finally
is
we
yeah.
finally hit on something that we can rely on consistently. And I think Keith sees that, hey, this is the bottom six that we're going forward with. And even our defensive core, right? We don't have we're not in a situation where we have a line or two that are great, or a pairing or two that are great, and then the last is atrocious either, right? We're seeing some good players come into our system, and some good grit, right? I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Size
They've
is
got
also
some
a huge thing.
sandpaper to it.
Yeah.
Shen. Oh my god, Shen. What a
Oh,
first
making his
game, like
first
first
game
home
back
game
in
back.
over a
Yeah.
decade. Yeah.
Did you hear the Luke chant?
On
It
that hit
sounded
on
like
Aho?
Moose, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
a beautiful
That
hit.
was a classic Shen hit though, eh?
Yeah.
Just
I mean, yeah.
drop down low, stick the butt out, and get it.
Yeah.
It was
But
classic Shen.
what's it? Yeah, like you said, like it's good that we have like I think the hole right now, the hole that this team has is with secondary scoring right now.
Mhm.
Like our bottom six is great in the sense that you never have to shelter them. You can put them up against any competition and they will fare well because defensively they are extremely sound.
Mhm.
Like every single player that we have acquired is extremely responsible with the puck, which is very nice. You know, we don't have like a Kasperi Kapanen situation where he'll make a boneheaded play and just, you know, it's in the back of your own net, right? You don't have to shelter anyone, which is amazing, especially into the playoffs because you can win the matchup game very easily if you can actually play your bottom six against top competition and leave your top six to, you know, score some goals. But I got curious about this, and it's specifically about Dubas.
Okay.
What is the playoff success required for him to get extended? In your eyes, like what is required?
So are
Like
you
if we
asking
lose
what I think the main office wants to see, or what I want to see personally?
both,
Okay. Then I'll break it off into two. All right. For me, I think he already gets re-signed, regardless, because I think he's done a fantastic job not only in finding some value out of non, I guess, first round or high end picks. He's had some great luck picking some good players, and getting some
yeah,
guys
draft
that are
pick wise,
undrafted
he's
as
been
well. Yeah, he's been drafting very
excellent.
well. He's developing the prospects in a time where we don't really have much I guess available to us. And what was the biggest concern that we saw, or the biggest hate or sentiment that we saw towards Dubas in previous seasons? That he didn't go for it, right? This season he clearly went for it. We got some good and good pickups and some really great players that can contribute this season, as well as like McCabe. We picked him up for 3 more years, right, on a great contract,
Yeah,
because
McCabe is a
they
great contract.
exactly, because there's retained salary on there as well. I think Dubas deserves to get re-upped right now. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's
So
invaluable, and I can see him easily going to another team and doing fantastic things. Now, I will say though, the rest of a lot of other Leafs fans, and I can completely see their point of view as well. I think they're looking for not only a first round win, but also a second round win.
second round win, yeah.
Yeah.
If we lose in the first round and it's tight and it's exactly like last season and it goes to game 7 and we lose,
Yeah.
are you still re-signing him?
In the second round?
Yeah. Oh no, in the first round.
In the first
If we
round?
lose in the first round again to Tampa, Game 7, same thing as last year. Tight series, just goes to 7, and we lose.
Listen, I already said I personally would re-sign him. A lot of others though, and I don't disagree with you, or I can't I can't be too mad with your decision, but I know a lot of people will be calling for his head, and unfortunately, like it's just a thing where you're he can't go out there and play the game on the ice for them, right? If you
Yeah,
look at
like
the actual
you can only
lineup
do so
itself,
much as a general manager.
exactly. And if we look at the lineup, they should be competitive. They should be winning that series against Tampa, right? Tampa, they are also kind of skinned, I'd say, here and there. They've had a ton of wear on them, like going to the finals, like what is it, like 3 seasons
3 years
in a row? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy on your players, right? So they're gonna be wary and they're gonna be tired for sure. It's gonna catch up to you eventually. At the end of the day, it comes down to the players, not Dubas. Dubas has done a great
But
job setting up the team around these players. What more can he do?
my question is, okay, let's say, if it's about whatever, sandpaper defense, there's only so much Dubas can do with that. He's committed to that. He's gotten acquisitions based on that.
Yeah.
And, to me, like if that's the reason we have a downfall, there's not much he can do. But my question is, what if it comes down to secondary scoring on the wing? Because that's something that we did not really address
Mm-hmm.
in the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ryan O'Reilly withstanding, of course, he's scoring threat.
I was just
But,
gonna say.
like Ryan Riley, yeah, 100%. But for example, we're going with an 11-7 right now.
Mhm.
And a large reason to that is because our forward depth isn't particularly great. If Achari and Ryan O'Reilly go down,
Yeah.
we would need 2 of Bobby McMahon, Pontus Holmberg, or Alex Steves, or potentially Matthew Nyes if he's ready. None of those guys have played a full NHL season.
Mhm.
Ever. Right? So you're relying on depth that is what I would say is like untested in the playoffs,
Mhm.
So if it comes down to that and a couple guys get injured in the first round and we don't get scoring depth, it's sort of on Dubas. Now I'm not saying he should be fired based on that. But I am saying that that is a responsibility and a hole that can potentially be exposed.
Yeah.
And it would be on Dubas in that case. But so then I was thinking about this and I was like, oh yeah, I think I'd fire Dubas, or I think I wouldn't extend Dubas if that were to happen.
Mhm.
If a couple forwards go down, we can't find any sort of scoring depth, like the Tavares injury, for example, against Montreal, and we lose because of that. But then I was like, okay, I don't extend Dubas. What do I do now? Because I was thinking about it. What GM is available that is better than Dubas? And I was going through the list, and it's no one. Like, it is legitimately no one. I don't know who you would hire. Like, I was going through it, and it's like, okay, you can go to the guy that he was competing with, Mark Hunter. But we've seen his drafting now, like his 2016, 2017 drafting, and it's shit,
Mhm.
other than the first round picks. It's garbage. Like, we didn't get a single solitary good player. So I don't like that. And then you might go an internal hire, like maybe promoting Brandon Pridham, Ryan Hardy, maybe even Haley Wickenheiser. That would be dope. But again, these are guys who are in the organization already. They have the same organizational mindset. And none of them have GM'd an NHL team before.
Mhm.
Again, an unknown quantity. And then the rest of the guys are guys who were fired for a reason. Like, what are you going to do? Hire Peter Chiarelli? He's shit. Like, and you also have Philly that's looking for a GM. So I was like thinking about it, and there's like maybe a couple guys, like maybe a John Chayka who was, a GM under really weird circumstances that I think is still an unknown quantity, or a Jeff Gordon who I think is decent as well. But I was like, for the people who are already decided like Dubas should not be the GM anymore, who do you want?
Mhm.
Like, who are you looking for that is available? Because like there's a reason they're not on an NHL team. You have to kind of pick out of guys who aren't proven.
One quick thing, I love how someone in chat mentioned Jason Spezza. Fantastic idea.
Honestly, like, I don't know how much he's learned in this year, but I'd be very impressed if he could GM immediately. But you never know.
Yeah, okay, so I think the bigger question, or the bigger thing in that situation is, whoever they get, even if they stick with Dubas, are they going to let them do their job, right? because we saw in that Kadri trade, Dubas wanted to go for Tyson Berry at that situation. Or sorry, not Tyson Berry, TJ Brody in that situation, and it
No,
ended
but
up
that was
going for
Kadri. Kadri nixed that. It
yeah,
wasn't the
exactly.
organization.
Yeah, that was him. But there was times I can't remember exactly the situation where
It was with the
who was it where the upper management said no to that situation.
Yeah, I do
You
remember what
remember
you're
there
talking
was
about.
there was one, help us out in chat
There
if
was
you
a
guys
time,
remember. But there was a time where
No, it was firing Babcock.
Babcock, there was also trade. I remember there were some situations with trades being nixed because upper management had a particular say in certain things, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, I think that's another concern. Like, are they gonna let them do their job, or are they gonna force their hand in different situations, right?
Yeah.
Because let's say if Dubas had the full reins and got to do what he wanted with the lineup, maybe we'd be in a different position than we are right now, right? It really depends. It really, I think a bigger thing is having faith in your organization to make the right decisions, and live by the decisions that they make, right?
Yeah.
And I think this year is, I think Dubas really got the reins this year, and to me that's kind of telling that the organization kind of sees this as a do or die kind of year. And he's gonna have his work cut out for him because, well, I mean, he had his work cut out
I mean,
for him,
he's
but
already
now
done
he's
the
gonna
work. Yeah.
now he's gonna have to
Now he
pray and
just has
hope
to
that the
sit
team
there
does their
and-
job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
literally
what else
biting
can
his
you do in
nails
this situation?
in the playoffs.
But also, you mentioned like getting some more up forward, right? The problem is we really didn't have much space on the cap, right?
Yeah, we didn't have a ton of cap.
Yeah,
there was
we
a
made
very
getting O'Reilly and getting all the players that we got. Dubas had to play around with the cap.
A lot of retention.
And we also had one extra roster spot, which allows for I think we still have that roster spot where Nice can come up. Yeah, exactly. So he's done the most of a situation that's pretty crappy, right?
But there was a strong commitment to acquiring very defensive players in that trade deadline, which I'm fine with. Like, I'm totally okay with it. The only thing that I worry about is if an injury happens, especially to one of our top four.
Yeah.
And, you know, we saw what that can do in the Montreal series where, you know, Tavares goes down and everyone says, well, if Tavares didn't go down, we could have won that series and most likely would have. But that's not something you can control, right? Yeah. And we have a shitload of defensive depth. If two of our D-men go down, we will be fine. We have like 9 NHL defensemen. But if two of our forwards go down, are we going to be fine? I don't know. Was the commitment to getting so many defensemen and that's the thing. I don't know how they value guys like Bobby McMahon.
The thing is, you can kind of say the same thing with our, like, let's say if instead of getting like, I don't know, instead of getting Gustafson, McCabe or whatnot, right? Instead of going after and getting some guys on our depth on a D, they got some forwards instead. Then you'd be looking at a situation where, let's say if Gio goes down or Brody goes down or Riley goes down, like, who are you gonna bring up, right?
Yeah, but it's the amount of extras you have. Like, we have 3,
exactly,
arguably 4 extras with Jordy Ben as well on the defensive side.
Are you gonna be bringing back Jordy Ben though?
No, I'm just saying, like, that's if 3 D-men go down.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Like,
that's ridiculous. Whereas, like, on the offensive side, we don't really have any, like, there's Wayne Simmons, there's Bobby McMahon, there's Pontus Holmberg, who I think would be the first call-up. There's, who else?
Bobby's been playing pretty good so far, too, eh? Hasn't he had, like, a fantastic... since going down to the Marlies, I think he's been playing fantastic, too.
Who, Bobby
McMahon? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's excellent on the Marlies.
Yeah.
And he was great with the Leafs, too. Like, I'm not really worried about them too much in terms of, like, the offensive side, but in the sense that, like, they sort of need to be sheltered a bit.
Yeah.
You know, because they're, like, they haven't had a ton of NHL time. You know, you don't just throw the guys to the wolves. Pontus Holmberg, withstanding, I think he's been excellent. But even him, when he was put into the top 6 during that Tavares injury, back before we had Ryan O'Reilly, like, it was a rough showing for him, at least the first game. Like, it requires some level of, you know, getting used to it and sheltering. And that's what I worry about. We don't have a ton of guys in the depth of our forward outside of the top 12 that you can really rely on like we said with the bottom six, where you can put them in any situation and they'd succeed.
Mhm.
And that's the main worry I have. And it's not a huge thing. Like at the end of the day, I think you do need more defensemen because I think they tend to get injured easier, especially, with the last 2 seasons, Muzzin going down and unfortunately not even playing anymore. Like, he was such an important part to our losses, our first round losses, not having him in those game sevens.
Yeah.
That, like, I can understand, like, we need more defensemen. We need more guys who we can rely on the back end and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I have full faith in the team.
I think the forward group, like you mentioned, is the weak point, right? There is a lack of depth there, but I do want to mention, like, in the previous seasons, yeah, we've had injuries like Tavares, you mentioned, going down, but the rest of our forwards had bad series as well. It wasn't like they were contributed and then they just got outplayed by a team that had more depth than them, or a team that just was better on paper. It was the team lost to themselves. The forwards were not playing up to their potential. You can't take out Tavares out and then have the rest of our forward group just collapse, right? They
Yeah,
were
that's true.
they were playing bad, and that's a huge factor that contributed to it. And in this situation, like, let's say if one of our guys goes down, you still have Matthews, Marner, like Bunton, we have Tavares, we have O'Reilly, we have Nyland. Like, these are big players that will and can and should show up, right? In the case that one of them gets injured, you kind of have to hope that the rest of the guys pulls their sleeves up and does something and actually contributes, right? You can't keep babying these guys. Like, in previous seasons, it wasn't the fact that injuries or one guy going down killed us. It was the fact that these guys got mentally boomed and they could not score for the life of them, right?
Mentally boomed, yeah.
Well, am I wrong in that situation? Like, they
No, I
got
mean,
mentally boomed,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think this season, like, if you have injuries, it sucks. Pick up your pants and do something.
After the trade deadline, Matthews did have a comment being like, like, they've shown faith in us and it's up to us now to get over the edge. And like, that's the mindset you have to have. Like, it's on the players now. Like, I do think Dubas has done such a great job to get this team ready for playoffs.
Yep.
I'm just curious to see where this goes, and especially for Dubas's job's sake. I hope we win a round.
Yeah, we don't have a lot more time before we get the answer, right? This is game 68. 69 is going to be tomorrow. Hey, funny. 69 is going to be tomorrow. We're clearly mature over here.
Oh my god. I'm 25.
Oh god. Okay. Well, regardless, we're getting there towards the end of the season. We don't have a lot of time, but that's kind of the fun of it. I'm kind of excited to get this season, or this regular season, over and finally get to the playoffs. Right? We've known our competition for a while. We've had some time to kind of get some synergy going with the group that we've recreated during this off season, or during this trade deadline, because there was a lot of pieces that were moved. Now it really comes down to just performing, right? Get the synergy, get healed up.
I came back from India and it's like a completely different team.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. That's hilarious.
I was like scrolling at like 3 a.m. being like, oh my god, Engvall got traded, Sandine got traded, holy shit. Yeah, it was an interesting time.
You literally went at the worst time possible.
I know, literally on the flight, Ryan O'Reilly came to the Leafs. I literally landed and I was like, oh, wow. I guess I'm staying up for the game.
And they got shelled that game too. So
no, they won that game.
No, I think they lost that game. That was the game that Riley had a -2. Yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure they lost that game. That was the one where we had Sid Sixera on. I'm pretty sure that was a loss. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a loss. We can look back on that. But yeah, I mean, tomorrow we're going to be playing off against the Senators, I believe, right? Yeah, we're playing off against the Sens
and Matt
tomorrow.
Murray's hopefully not going to get injured pregame, and he can finally play against the Sens.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great, and we'll see how the Leafs play in the second half of a back-to-back. Right, you're playing against the Sens team that that you should be beaten every day of the week. So and they're also on a 4-game loss streak too. So the Leafs should be right in there.
Everything
And,
points to that, but you know how this goes. So
exactly. But yeah, we'll see how the
happy
game
St.
goes.
Pat's
It's gonna be
Day.
fun. Today was a fantastic stop to a losing streak. St. Pat's, let's go.
Yeah. This is the
Shout
only
out. Hope you
green
guys have a
I have. It's
fantastic
my
day.
beer league jersey.
Uh,
It still smells of sweat because I wore it yesterday.
let's see it. Pull it up. Let's see.
The Goons.
That is the worst logo I've ever
It's a beer league team.
Why do you guys
The
have a
Gantry
Goomba as
Goons.
your
I don't
logo?
know. I joined the team late and I was given this jersey, so it's number 53,
Yeah,
which is
you
not
better
a great
hope.
number.
You better hope Nintendo doesn't see that shit
Goons.
and like bans your asses. All right, we're gonna end it off there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and hope you celebrate St. Patty's Day safely, of course. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your nights. That's gonna do it here from us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow where the Leafs play against the Senators. Hopefully they can keep the wins rolling. But as always, you can find out and get your post game coverage here on SDPN for Game Over Toronto. Good night, everyone.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.